and welcome to Elite Academy. My name is Josh Denny, and Jesse McPherson and myself get the privilege of going through course number 4, which is Presenting with Purpose.
If this is your first course, we want to welcome you to the program. It is a weekly course. It's a 12-week program, so each week you want to log in here and watch your next course, and when you complete all 12 in a row, you're going to graduate from the Elite Academy, and we're looking forward to recognizing you at one of our up-and-coming events. If you are coming back, welcome back, and congratulations on being consistent, and we'll look forward to celebrating your graduation as well. So let's dive into it.
You know, when you look at the company as a whole, Jesse, and I was always trying to figure out what's the difference between the people who make massive success and those who don't. Now, there's 3 critical factors to make any organization work. The first is the product. Does the product work?
Yeah.
Of course it does. Does it work the same for everybody?
Yep.
Absolutely. You see the before and after pictures. You hear the stories. The products work. The other factor is the compensation. Are people making money here with Seacret? Answer is absolutely.
Yep.
What's the difference between the person who's making millions of dollars a year and the person who's not making any dollars a year?
Yeah.
And the difference is the third factor, the it factor we like to call it, which is the you factor.
Yeah.
Okay? You're the difference. We know the products work. We know the compensation plan works. The only thing we don't know is whether you're going to work.
Right.
Okay. And look, when you make that decision that hey, I'm going to work, you know what work looks like is 2 things. And only these 2 things. You got to get really good at either getting people to a presentation or doing a presentation. Okay? My whole career, that's all it was. I got good at getting people in front of a presentation until I was confident enough to do the presentation. And this is the difference maker. And that's what today's course is all about, is doing a presentation that works, that's compelling, that gets people excited about what it is you're doing.
Josh, at the beginning of my career, you were so on point because you taught me 2 simple things. You said, listen, Jess, there's only 2 things you need to get good at, which is setting appointments to show people Seacret and showing people Seacret. Now, what most people do when they're confronted with this, and I remember myself included, was that fear that creeps up, like, oh gosh, here we go, like I actually got to go do it. And you know, the fear of messing up or looking bad, or what are they going to say, or what are they going to think, and all these opinions that end up floating around. And I know, because that was the same experience that I had, which is like, I don't want to do this wrong. And it gets disguised as all kinds of other things, like I need to know everything, which is usually saying, I don't want to mess up.
Right.
I took a philosophy a long time ago that basically said, there's no such thing as failure, only feedback. I would suggest that you borrow that, because the only way you really fail in this business is to stop attempting. Because you're going to be bad before you're good. That's the nature of everything.
Right.
And there are things that were scary a long time ago, like learning to ride a bike or learning to drive a car, things like that, that today you do subconsciously, unconsciously really. And the reason why is because you did it over and over and over and over and over with spaced repetition. So what you want to understand is this. You don't have to be great to start, but you have to start to be great. So I truly hope that today you make a decision to start presenting. And today, like right now, before we even do the rest of this training, because if you make a decision, say, you know, all right, I'm going to do this, the rest of this training, you're going to take on from a very different perspective than going, that's for somebody else, that's not for me. And course number 4, if you want to go out there and unlock your income much faster, this is about not just giving people fish, it's about teaching people to fish. And when you can go out there and present and present and present, I promise you, you'll never be hungry again.
Presenting is a skill set that changed my life radically.
Yeah.
And it's helped me earn millions of dollars because I was willing to get over the fear.
Yeah.
And I know that's tough. But you know what gets you over the fear, Jesse? Doing it.
Doing it.
And doing it and doing it and doing it and continuing to do it. The fear and that anxiety starts to go down. The knowledge and confidence starts to go up. And this course is specifically designed to give you an outline of how to do that.
Yeah.
Okay? We're going to cover the who, what, when, where, and how to present.
Yeah.
But before you go into those details, or before we go into it rather, you really need to understand why.
Yeah.
Okay? That's what's compelling to all of us.
Right.
Most people don't really care what you're doing or even how you're doing it, but they care why you're doing it. And it's an attractive piece. And Simon Sinek, the author of Start With Why, really drives this point home with why you need to start with why.
All leaders have one thing and one thing only: followers. That's it. That's it. If you're a leader, it means you have followers. It has nothing to do with rank. It has nothing to do with intelligence. It has nothing to do with seniority. If people are willing to follow you, you are a leader. The question is, what's a follower? A follower is somebody who volunteers to go where you want to go. Someone who raises their hand and says, I choose to follow you. We can get people to do all kinds of things using authority. That doesn't make you a leader. A leader is when someone says, I volunteer to go where you're going. The question is, why should anyone follow you? There's only two ways to influence human behavior. You can either manipulate people or you can inspire people. Examples of manipulation in the business world are things like dropping your price. If you drop your price low enough, people will buy from you. We know this. Promotions, 2 for 1, free toy inside. Or if you're in the business-to-business space, we call it value added. The concept is the same. It's giving things away for free to reduce someone's risk so they'll choose you over the competition. And it works. Fear, wonderful manipulator. If any of you are parents, you know exactly what I'm talking about. You can scare people into doing all sorts of things. Aspirational messages. We're constantly being told you have to be aspirational. Give people something to aspire to. You know, you can get people to join the gym with an aspirational message, but to get them to work out 3 days a week, that requires a little bit of inspiration. Now, I cannot dispute that these and many other manipulations work. The problem is, none of them breed loyalty. The problem is, none of them create trust. And over the course of time, they cost more money. Someone has to pay for it all. And over the course of time, it increases stress, both for the buyer and for the seller. It is stressful for us to make decisions today. In a world in which manipulation is the norm, where we are bombarded by manipulations from all sides, from all people, trying to get us to do any number of things, whether it's vote for them or buy from them or do something, the question is, how do we choose? What's right for us? It's called stress. We literally have trouble choosing these days. But it's stressful for the sellers as well. In a marketplace where manipulation is the norm, how do we stand out? How do we get heard? How do we find people to follow us? The alternative is inspiration. And there are only a few people and a few organizations that tend to rely vastly more on inspiration than manipulation. And I'll talk about some of the bigger ones, like Apple Computers, or Southwest Airlines, or Martin Luther King. And you see it not only in organizations, but great leaders as well, like Martin Luther King, or John F. Kennedy, or Nelson Mandela. And what I learned is that regardless of their size, and regardless of their industry, every single one of these leaders, every single one of these organizations thinks, acts, and communicates the exact same way, and it's the complete opposite to everyone else. All I did was write it down. And it's probably the world's simplest idea. I call it the golden circle. And it's 3 concentric circles, a bullseye. In the middle is why, the center ring is how, and the outside ring is what. Why, how, what? It's this little idea that distinguishes those with the capacity to inspire versus everyone else. Let me define the terms really quickly. Every single organization on the planet knows what they do. These are the products you sell, the services you offer. Everyone here knows what they do. Some know how they do it, whether you call it your differentiating value proposition, your USP, your proprietary process. These are the things that you think make you different or special or stand out from the competition, from everyone else. But very, very few people and very few organizations can clearly articulate why they do what they do. And by why, I don't mean to make money. That's a result. By why, I mean what's your purpose, what's your cause, what's your belief. Why does your organization exist? Do we really need another company to do what you're doing? Do we really need another one? Why did you get out of bed this morning? And why should anyone care? As a result, the way we think, the way we act, the way we communicate is from the outside in. It's obvious. We go from the clearest thing to the fuzziest thing. We tell people what we do. We tell them how we're different or how we're better or how we're special, and we expect some sort of behavior, a vote, a purchase, support, whatever it is. But not those leaders with the capacity to inspire. Regardless of their size, regardless of their industry, every single one of them thinks, acts, and communicates from the inside out. Let me give you an example. I use Apple frequently just because they're easy to understand and we all get it. If Apple were like everyone else, a piece of communication would sound like this. We make great computers. They're beautifully designed, simple to use, and user-friendly. Want to buy one? Meh, that's normal. Here's our new car. It's got, great gas mileage, leather seats, tinted windows. Here's our law firm. We went to all the best schools. We've got all the best lawyers. We win all of our cases. We work with all of the biggest firms. This is normal. Here's how Apple actually communicates. They start with why. Everything we do, they say, we believe in challenging the status quo. We believe in thinking differently. The way we challenge the status quo is by making our products beautifully designed, simple to use, and user-friendly. We just happen to make great computers. Want to buy one? It actually feels different. All I did was reverse the order of the information. What it starts to show us is that it's not what you do that matters, it's why you do it. And what you do simply serves as the tangible proof of what you believe. People don't buy what you do, they buy why you do it. This is the reason why every single person in this room is perfectly comfortable with the idea that Apple sells computers. We're also perfectly comfortable with the idea that Apple sells MP3 players and phones and DVRs. Apple is just a company, that's all they are. It's a corporate structure. Every single one of their competitors has equal and open access to the same resources, the same agencies, the same consultants, the same talent, the same media. It is a zero-sum game. The difference is, all of their competitors have defined themselves by what they do. We make computers. Apple has defined themselves by why they exist. To challenge the status quo, to give an individual the opportunity to stand up to Big Brother and choose a simple alternative. Everything they say and everything they do simply serves as proof. Dell makes perfectly good products. They're every little bit qualified to make every single product that Apple makes. And a few years ago, they tried. A few years ago, Dell came out with MP3 players and PDAs, and nobody bought one. Doesn't make sense. Why would we buy an MP3 player from a computer company? But we do it every day, because it's not what you do that matters, it's why you do it. And people don't buy what you do, they buy why you do it. For this little idea to work, we have to have three things. One, you have to know why you do what you do. If you don't know why you do what you do, how will anyone else? You have to have clarity of why. Two, you have to have discipline of how. You have to hold yourself and your people accountable to your own guiding principles and your own values. And thirdly, you have to have consistency of what? Everything you say and everything you do has to prove what you believe. This is the concept behind authenticity. People are always telling us you have to be authentic. People prefer to buy from the authentic brand. They prefer to vote for the authentic candidate. What does that mean? How do you implement authenticity? If I send you home to your work tomorrow and say, please, the next thing you do, I want to make sure it's more authentic. What's the first thing you're going to do? No clue. What authenticity means is the things you say and the things you do, you actually believe.
That is some pretty interesting stuff there, Simon. Well done. And it's so true, though. People don't buy what you do, they buy why you do it. And if you aren't clear about that, if your intention isn't clear, then it's going to be challenging to be compelling, to be of purpose in your presentation for people to want to join you on your vision of where you're going. Because if you don't know where you're going, why would they want to join, right? So, but when it comes to it, let's dive into starting with, who do I present to? Josh?
Well, in the beginning, you're going to be presenting to anyone and everyone. In fact, anything that has a heartbeat.
Yeah, if it can fog a mirror.
And it may be you that's fogging the mirror. You may be, you may be doing the presentation in the mirror.
Yeah.
And I've done that multiple times. I remember, Jesse, in the very beginning, I would present to a couch.
Yes.
I swear, just to a couch. I would imagine the people were there and I was presenting to them because I wanted to practice.
Yes.
Again, getting over the fears, presenting over and over and over again. And it's very important. So I'd say, who? Anyone.
Yeah.
Especially in the beginning. In fact, one of the things I did a lot was I'd ask people for help. I'd say, look, can I practice with you?
Yeah.
Hey, Jesse, can you do me a favor? I'm learning a presentation. I think I'm pretty bad at it. I want to get better. Would you let me practice with you, please?
Right.
And you know what? That's a hard invitation to say no to. Most people say, yeah, sure. For sure you can. Come on over. And when you have the ability to practice, again, practice makes permanent. And so who do you present to? Anyone.
So Josh, the next is what? what do we present? And you're obviously presenting Seacret, but how do I do the presentation and what kind of presentations? And we have basically two, which broke it down to make it really simple. So Seacret is as easy as X's and
O's.
X's and O's. Inside of your toolkit, when you have an opening order more than $250, you get it for free. You have your X book and your O book. So let's start with your O book. Your O book is your open book. And the idea is this is someone that's open to seeing what Seacret is all about. And this is where you're going to be showing them the incredible products and the incredible opportunity we have, and then finding out what path makes the most sense to them. And we're going to be covering that. We have our X book, or our experience presentation. This is a little bit more geared towards leading with the product. Opportunity is still involved and you're presenting that, but it's more set up as a group presentation. So if a customer gets excited and they want to host an experience, this is where you're going to be using this X book. Now, the next thing you're going to be presenting, Josh, is your story.
Your story is something you're going to be presenting your entire career.
Yep.
And you may not think of it as a presentation, but it really is.
Yeah.
You're presenting it in a way that is authentic, that's real, that's you. So you want to be able to learn that because your story is going to be incorporated in every presentation.
Yep.
Whether it's training on stage at maybe the family reunion or one of the Seacret conventions or in your local marketplace, it's a part of it. When you're doing your X book presentation, you're going to be presenting your story. When you're doing your O book presentation, you're going to be presenting your story. So getting to understand these areas of presentation are very important. The next element here is when to present.
As often as humanly possible. I mean, I remember every day that I wasn't doing a presentation, I would kind of get jittery because I felt like I wasn't building my future. I wasn't building my dreams, my reasons, and getting closer to that freedom that I so desperately desired in my business. And what I notice is, Josh, a lot of people think they're doing the business a lot more than they really are because we think about it a lot, but we're presenting it very little. And so I know in the beginning, most of you are spare time, part-time getting going with this, and you can fit this into your schedule if you plan it. And the idea is this, is to plan your work and then work your plan. And you can fit this in a few minutes here, a few minutes there. We're going to show you how to do that, but you got to set a goal and be consistent with it to get the results you're looking for.
Now, there's a direct correlation I've found between the amount of presentations you either do or attend with guests to the level of success someone can achieve. And the people who have, to say this another way, the people who earn the most money, you'll find them in the most presentations. Again, either bringing people to a good presenter or whether it's online or in person, or they're doing the presentation. Now, when you can learn to do the presentation, which is what this course is about, then you can dictate that pace. Okay, so here's what we want. We want you to set a goal. Okay, if you're part-time, the goal should be 2 to 4 a week. 2 to 4 presentations a week, I think, is a minimum goal for anyone who's part-time, Jesse, and I think it's reasonable and certainly doable. Now, if you're full-time, I think 2 to 4 a day should be the goal for you to be able to get to. Now, you may not get there right away, especially if you're brand new and you're just getting started. You need to work your way up by getting those exposures. Because at the end of the day, Jesse, the biggest thing that makes the cash register ring here in your business is how many presentations you're able to get people in front of.
Absolutely. And 2 to 4 presentations, even if the presentation was an hour and it was a party or a sit down or a one-on-one, if it was an hour, that's 2 to 4 hours a week.
Right.
If it's a day, it's 2 to 4 hours a day. If you're full-time, that's technically, 8 hours a day? So these are numbers that are realistic. I remember thinking about it like that many a day. And then when I really broke it down and I really scheduled it and kind of got it out of my head and onto paper, I realized it's really not that much. You just have to plan it and be consistent with it, and then you're going to find the results coming in. It's like working out. You don't have to work out 8 hours a day. You just got to do a little bit every day, and if you do it consistently, you're going to see incredible results. Next is where to present. Josh?
Anywhere and everywhere that there's people. Okay? You got to get good at one of two things. Either getting people to the presentation or bringing the presentation to the people. And that's pretty much wherever they are, okay? So I can't tell you how many living rooms I've been in or how many kitchen counters I've sat at. It's countless, from apartments or small, tiny studios to multi-million-dollar mansions.
Dorm rooms?
Dorm rooms.
Yeah, wherever.
Wherever there's people, okay? I like the kitchen counter when you're going to someone's home because it's a lot less formal. People love to do business around food, even if it's not in front of them. That's why there's so many business meetings done at restaurants. Now, we don't recommend you meet people at restaurants because that can get kind of pricey. My best friend has been Starbucks, Jesse. Okay? I can't tell you how many Starbucks I've been to, but man, I'm telling you what, I should be a shareholder.
You should be.
With how much business I've driven to Starbucks or Tim Hortons or wherever your local coffee shop is. It's the most inexpensive place to meet. People are used to doing it. It's so common that you can meet with people there and really get business done. Okay, so that's going to be awesome. Now, the next thing outside of being in person is online.
Absolutely. Now, this is kind of a new evolving area because remember when we first got started, this wasn't even an option.
Right.
You basically drove to somebody or flew to somebody, and you were either went to their living room or got to an appointment. Now, we really love the in touch, the person to person, belly to belly style for sure, but technology is evolving today where you have an opportunity in those areas where you can't get to somebody like that. You can meet with them online. And you're really covering the same information, which we're going to go into the how here in a minute, but this could be on Facebook Live, it could be on FaceTime, it could be on Skype or a Zoom or some kind of a webinar platform, basically where you're video with them, where they can see you, you can see them, and you can go through the presentation. Now, these you can do obviously anywhere where they have internet and you have internet, which is obviously as often as possible. And so from online to offline, and then as you continue to do this and you get your presentation skills down, and what's going to happen eventually is you start going to do larger group presentations. Now, or maybe at our family reunion or one of our secret conventions, those are the places where you're going to start upping your game.
And regardless of where it is, we prefer being in person because nothing beats the high touch. There's not going to be a presentation done online that's going to be more quality than you sitting in front of somebody and genuinely expressing your reason why you're doing this with your presentation. But it doesn't matter whether it's online or offline. The point is, you've got to get either the presentation to the people or the people to the presentation. I believe the most critical factor in all of this, though, is why to present. So why do you want to get a skill set here? Why do you want to develop the skill set of presenting?
Yeah, well, basically, for me, it meant that I was never going to be poor again. Because when you learn the skill set of presenting, means that you can put that skill set into action. And Jim Rohn says that skills makes labor more valuable. And the more I did it, the better I got at it. That means that I could get to my destinations quicker, which means my future was depending on it. So why to present is really your why, my why. So why to present? Because your kids. When you tell look, if you're doing this business for your kids, then the reason you need to learn how to present and why to present is for your kids. So when you really understand that it's not just growing your business, it's growing you.
Let's get into how to present, Jesse. My rule of thumb has always been tell them what you want to tell them, then tell them, and then tell them what you just told them. And as long as there's a clear call to action, that makes for a good framework of an effective presentation.
Yeah. Now, before you go out there and do presentations, there's a few things that really help me in increasing my ratios. One of the things to understand in your presentation, what you're looking to do is get what we call minor agreements. Somebody that's going to go, they might not say it out loud or yes, it's not a verbal usually yes, but it's more like an internal, yeah, we call it kind of nodding and bobbing. And if they're doing that throughout the presentation, very likely at the end when you ask them to get started as a customer or an agent or both, they're going to be like, yeah, they're ready to get going. And so the easiest way to start getting those minor agreements in your presentation is to learn to ask better questions. They say that smart people have answers, geniuses have questions. So if you want to get great at getting people to find out where you're going is ask great questions. Now there are three main types of questions that you're going to be asking throughout your presentations, and you're going to do these all over. It could be in inviting, it could be in presenting, closing, all over the place. You want to learn these three questions. So the three types of questions are, number one, alternative choice questions. Now Josh, these show up actually even in your everyday life. If you're at a retail store, you're buying something, they might say, hey, would you like to use cash or card? They might say, would you like to use Visa or MasterCard? Now, do you honestly think they care if you use your Visa or your MasterCard? No, they just care that you pay, right? So now, these you can use in your secret business all over the place. A lot of times even setting appointments, they work great. So hey, Josh, what works better for you, Tuesday or Thursday?
Thursday.
Thursday, morning or evening?
Morning.
Morning, okay, 9 or 10?
10.
10, right? So that's a great alternative choice. Whatever he chooses is fantastic. Both answers I like. You could actually, in closing especially, what makes most sense to you, becoming an agent or a customer? So that's going to find out where you're going. Do you, as a customer, what products did you want to start with? Products for your face, products for your body, or products for your health? So those are, and there's even
Or
3
all
questions.
the above.
Or all the above, right? Those are 3, so alternative choice questions you're going to be using before, during, and after. And you're going to notice them as you watch presentations, especially on our live events. And every presentation you go to, you'll notice great presenters will be using these questions.
Now, the second type of question is what we call a leading question. Now, leading questions are questions that you ask where you pretty much already know the answer to. You know what they're going to say in advance.
Right.
For example, Jesse, would you like to have better vacations, more vacations?
Yeah.
Would you like to make more money? Mm-hmm. Most of the time, questions like that, people say yes. Would you like to find a way to feel more vitality and have more health in your life?
Yeah.
Or have better health, right?
Yeah.
Those are leading questions, and these are probably questions you're going to ask most often, and they're going to be throughout your entire presentation. Again, getting those minor agreements.
The third type of question is a hook-ended question. Now, this is generally a statement that you're going to have a little hook on the end that turns it into a question, and really, you already know the answer, and likely is going to get you another minor agreement where someone's going to say yes because it forces a response. So when you're presenting, they're going to be engaged in your presentation. So if I said to Josh, I'd be like, hey, so you're buying more things online today than you used to, aren't you?
Yeah.
If you could get things for free sent to you or get discounts, you would want that, wouldn't you?
Yeah.
I mean, that makes sense, doesn't it?
It does.
I mean, you see where I'm going with this, right? I mean, you're picking up what I'm putting down. So something that's going to get someone to go, yeah, I get it, right? That makes sense. Wouldn't you? Wouldn't that make sense? And so when you do this, now be careful. You don't want to be like, oh, that makes, doesn't it? So don't be.
You don't put emphasis on the hook, okay?
Don't be creepy.
It's subtle.
Yeah.
Subtlety.
So subtlety. So that way someone's engaged and responding into your presentation. Now, when you're going through your presentation, these questions are really going to help you. But really, not only that, one of the most important things, Josh, I found with great presenters is that they already know that there's going to be some of the common objections, and they handle those objections through their presentation.
Absolutely. The best presenters I've ever met or I've ever been able to witness are they basically kind of know what you're thinking in advance because we're all pretty much thinking the same thing. Most of us come into a presentation, and if you think about a presentation you've been to recently, you probably didn't want to buy. No one really wants to be sold anything, and when we're in a presentation, oftentimes we feel like we're being sold. But when an effective presenter, a presenter that's presenting with purpose, starts to use these types of questions to get those minor agreements, and what they'll use them for is to help overcome those objections throughout the presentation. So by the time they're done and they're asking for the business, you want to do it. You want to buy. You don't feel like you're being sold anymore. Now you're like, oh, I get it. I want to do this. Hey, here's my money. Take my money because my money is not as valuable as what you're offering me.
Mm-hmm. Now, to make your presentations even more effective, be sure to use someone's name. People love hearing the sound of their own name. Now, let's go into specific presentations. The one that you're going to be using the most is a one-on-one or a sit-down, whether it's online or offline, where you're going to be sharing this presentation with somebody. Now, how to do an O presentation or use the X book, all you got to do is go to Seacret Elite, go to the basic training, scroll down, and you're going to actually, there's presentations right there on how to do an O presentation. So be sure to watch those. Right now, we're really talking about the structure, the makeup, and the flow to make sure that you're presenting with purpose and that it's effective when you go do that sit down.
And when you show up, you're going to show up in 2 different ways. You show up your physical attire,
right,
okay, and your state of being. I want to talk about that right now.
Yeah.
If you don't typically wear a suit like Jesse and I are wearing right now, don't show up to your best friend's house dressed up in a suit,
right,
because they think that's a little strange. There's automatically a red flag's going to go up.
What are you trying to tell me?
You dress sharp for sure,
yeah,
but dress maybe a little bit better than you would typically show up at, especially when you're doing a presentation.
Right.
Okay, you want to gauge your audience in that way. Now, the state is more important, I think, than the physical attire. The state of being, that is. And that is where you want to have positive energy. Be excited. Have a sense of urgency.
Yeah.
And again, that's going to be compelling to someone. Mm-hmm. Now that you got your state down, you're excited, you have positive expectancy, you have some urgency, you're dressed sharp, at least as sharp as you can be for that scenario. An important thing when you're meeting someone, especially in a physical location like a coffee shop or kitchen counter like we talked earlier, is sitting side by side as rather than across from someone. Because this can be kind of confrontational if I'm like talking at someone. But when I'm talking with them and we're looking at this, we're watching the video together, it's more like we're in this together.
It's conversational.
Exactly,
instead of
not confrontational. Exactly. Yeah. So, and especially if you show up at a crowded location, like maybe a crowded Starbucks or Tim Hortons, make it so you're facing the crowd, and they're just facing you, so your kind of back's against the wall. The less the distractions for them, the better, and the more focused they'll be on your presentation.
And make sure you're on time. You want to get there before your prospect.
Early is on time.
That's important. And also be prepared. So have your material, have your stuff, so that way you can get right into it, so you're effective with the time that you have while you're there with them in those few minutes. Now, Josh, let's go into the format really of your presentation and how to make it really effective.
The format should look like this. You're going to tell your story, then you're going to move into the company story, and you're going to use customer stories, then secret agent stories or agent testimonials, success stories, then into a call to action, actually asking them to do something.
Yeah. Now, it's stories. Like, I want you guys, this is really important, because this is one of the things you taught me early in my career. Facts tell, stories compel. What they're going to do is they're going to compel somebody to get started. Remember, Simon Sinek, the golden circle. It's not what you do, it's why you do it. And the stories are going to extract that, because, I mean, remember growing up, like your parents, didn't read you bedtime facts. They read you bedtime stories. It wasn't like Jack and Jill went up the hill. Jack was 5'8". He fell down 17 times. Nobody cares. It's the moral, the reasons, the why.
Right.
People don't buy what you do, they buy why you do it. So as we're going through this format and this flow, what you want to make sure and understand is it's really, say less, show more, say less, demo more, because a picture's worth 1,000 words, and the demonstration, paints this story of all of the scenarios as you go through the format. So let's dive into the story here, Joshua. This is what you taught me.
Yeah, let me give you an example. And by the way, you want to keep in mind that this should be 15 to 20 minutes max, the entire presentation. So you want to slow these stories down. They're just little snippets.
Yeah.
And so if in the beginning with Jesse, I said, Jesse, I'm tired of working in the machine shop. I was driving 2 hours to get there, working 12 hours a day. And Seacret, with this company I'm about to show you, I found a way to really be able to get ahead, maybe get a vacation, stop working so dang much.
Right.
And then I may tie in his story if I know it. And I know how you said that you're always doing too many dance classes, you're not making the money you want. This may be a way for us both to get what we want. Let me just show you. And then I move into now the company story.
Right.
Now the company story, you can tell the story, but there's also a video, and I could show them the video, and I would recommend that more often. Just I want to show you the company story, and we watched it together.
Yeah.
Okay. Or you go through as you're going through the X book or the O book, it has the story there. You point and read. You don't have to get into it a lot. Now, from the company story, it's important to start telling the customer stories, showing the before and after pictures.
Demonstrating the products.
Yeah, well, as you're demonstrating the products, you're showing it and then telling the stories. A picture's worth 1,000 words. So you're showing the before and afters, you're telling the stories. And then it's the reason why these products are so amazing is how it has opened up this great opportunity. And now you start sharing some success stories. Where do you find them? Of course, in our success stories on our website. You can start watching all the videos. All the platinums have recorded some amazing videos, and you can start to either share those videos or you can tell them quickly. Now, I'd recommend you watch them a bunch of times so you could tell the stories faster than showing the videos. You may want to show one or two, but telling the stories, you can do it a lot faster.
Yeah. Now, Josh, one of the things you taught me on this is very simple. Like, if your lips are moving, you better be pointing to something, reading something, introducing something,
or telling a story.
And that really is it. So when you look at this format and you really break it down, because it's like, oh, the presentations and what do I say? It's it. It's your story. Now, and when Josh said this to me, one of the things that I love is my thought process is thinking, oh, me too. That's really what you're trying to communicate is me too, not well, so what? Now, exactly. Me too, not so what? Create that connection because, wow, that might be what's in it for him. What else? Maybe there's something available here for me in that, right? So when your story is curating that. Now the Seacret story, whether you're using the tool or you're using a video, but you're pointing, reading, introducing, telling a story, that's it. And then you're taking a look at products. You're pointing, right? You're reading, you're introducing, or you're telling a story. And on the Seacret Elite page, if you go to the success stories, we've got our favorite product videos where you can show that to people. So, but the best testimonials are going to be personal testimonials and your customer testimonials. Start accumulating those, but use ours until you have your own. And then the agent stories. Remember, it's not the facts and details of the BV left leg, right leg. Like that's not compelling for someone to get started, right? So sharing the stories, allowing them to see real people with real results that are earning real income and having real success, that's going to make this happen for you. And then the call to action. Now this is normally, Josh, where people get freaked out is in the closing. When you're new, if you were like me, I didn't even know where to begin or where to start. So this is a great way to introduce an expert here that's going to ask for the business or ask for the enrollment. So again, pointing, reading, telling a story, or introducing somebody else. So if you stick through this format, whether you're doing an X book, an O book, a story, a training, this should really be the format from everything. Your story, company story, product stories, agent stories, and call to action.
Now, when you're going to introduce, you're prepping for a three-way call to an introduction, which is what Jesse's recommending here.
Yeah.
And I recommend it too, as often as you can.
Yeah.
Okay, what you'll do is you'll edify, and again, go to the edification video, so you learn how to do that. Edify your support team or the person that you're gonna do the three-way call with. And often it's good to be able to prep your support team. Maybe you have 2 or 3 different leaders. Say, hey, I'm sitting down with Jesse at 3. Can you be available for a three-way call? And you maybe have 2 or 3 people on standby. Send them a text message, are you ready? And now you edify and bridge them in. And let them do that closing for you, that calling to action for you, okay? Now, if you don't have that right now, or maybe someone's not available, you really have to ask for it. And here's probably the best question that you want to ask. How do you see yourself getting started, Jesse? Do you see yourself being a customer, maybe supporting my business? Or do you see yourself being in business with me and making money together?
Being in business with you.
And again, here's what's important after you ask that question. Stop talking. Okay? Once I ask it, I smile and he's going to answer one or the other. Now, most of the time, when it's the first presentation, you're not going to get a compliant, or you're not going to get someone to comply right away to say, yes, hey, I'm ready to get started. That does happen from time to time, but most often it's like, well, they have to think about it, they're asking some more questions, and that's normal. Yeah. So you didn't fail, you did your job right, but then you move into the next call of action, which is promoting the next event, promoting something else other than you. And again, maybe now you promote that three-way call, or at a different date or a different hour in that day, or you promote a video, or you promote a Facebook Live, but promote something else.
The next type of presentation you're going to be doing is a small group presentation. This could be anywhere from 2, 3, 5, up to about 10 people. After that, it really starts getting into big groups. And these are most likely going to be happening in a living room. So this can be your new agent launch, which we'll discuss in a minute, or an experience presentation. Now, for an experience, which is really, product focused first, they're going to definitely be sharing the opportunity, but product focused first, you're going to be using what we call the X book or the experience presentation. Now, how to do the experience presentation, same thing. If you go into our website, go to basic training on secretelite.com, scroll down, you're going to see how to do an experience presentation by the best inside of the team. So go watch on how to exactly do that and what to say in following your X book presentation. So that's on experiences. You want to be doing as many of those as humanly possible. Now, and you're getting a new agent launch, Josh, when a brand new person gets started, how to invite and to set that up. The new agent launch documents and videos, all that stuff, those resources are on our webpage. Use them. So make sure you're following the new agent launch video, the new agent launch sheet on setting up the grand opening, and all the scripts that are already there. Now, Josh, I know that over the course of your career, you've been in, how many living rooms do you think you've probably been in?
Hundreds. Maybe 1,000 at this point.
For sure.
I don't know, but here's what I do know.
I bet it's more.
In the beginning, it's been a lot. But when you're just getting started, you're going to do your first 2, like Jesse just mentioned. Mm-hmm. You're going to be doing that. But then you got to get good at doing the presentation for your new agents.
Yeah.
Okay, so whether you're doing it yourself in the very beginning, and that's how you started, regardless of which, as the team starts to grow, you're going to be doing that for others. So, for example, if Jesse's brand new on the team, mm-hmm. I want to be in his living room.
Yeah.
This is network marketing. And here's where most people mess this up, Jesse, is like once they get someone started, they're like, yay, go make me rich. and that's what they're thinking. They don't really say that, but they're kind of thinking because they're scared to do it.
Right.
This is your opportunity to be able to do another presentation. So with Jesse, I want him to invite people over for his grand opening, and I'm going to be there. In that scenario, the only difference in the flow from the sit-down presentation is I'm referencing Jesse's story, or maybe Jesse will share his story in front of the room. I'll edify Jesse, or whoever your new agent is, and talk about how proud we are of them and how we see the potential in them, and that, we're grateful that he brought some of his closest friends in. He really thinks the world of you guys, so you edify them and Jesse at the same time. Then you move into your story, and the flow stays the same. Use the names. Hopefully, you arrived early, and you met everyone. You had an opportunity to get to know them a little bit. You built a little bit of rapport. Good presenters do this, and now you're using people's names throughout that presentation, keeping that flow the same.
Yeah. Now, an X book presentation, you're going to be using the experience book. If you're doing a grand opening, you're going to be using the open presentation. Now, on a sit-down one-on-one, you'll probably be using, your little sit-down book, kind of that brag book. In a O-book presentation, if it's a grand opening, we recommend that you download it and put it on the TV if you can. So that way everyone can see it as you're going through it. And then even have some of the videos on there that you can share. Use those resources. So, because remember, facts tell, stories compel. Use the stories from the team. Use that. And I'm telling you, that stuff's going to help. Josh, one of the things that really helped me in living rooms was when I first came in, I love doing the salt and oil scrub.
Right.
Like almost when they get it, because it's kind of like a gateway product where when people start with that, they go, ooh, this was good. What else is going on? What else
Exactly.
what else is
It
here?
breaks the ice too.
Yeah, it's a great icebreaker. Now, a couple things. Setting up the environment. So have some light music playing. That dead space is kind of weird and awkward. Maybe make sure it smells good in your place. Clean up a little bit if you need to. So recommendation is to have kids not there if all humanly possible, but look, we get it. It's a family business, and people understand that. But if you can, have them a movie on in another room. Obviously that's important. We recommend that you try to keep away from even doing over-exaggerated like food. This isn't designed for you to be spending a ton of money on this. Keeping it simple, because remember, people are going to be thinking, can I do this? Can I afford to do this? If they walk in and there's a big spread and they're thinking, wow, this cost a few $100 just for the spread, I can't even afford to do one of these, let alone get in business.
Right.
So now, look, there's the perfect format. Does it ever work out like that? No. I mean, hundreds and hundreds of living rooms. Some of the worst ones I've ever done are where I found my best agents, because it's really out there doing the presentations. I mean, I've had the ones where the kids were screaming. I had the cat just gnawing at my leg, and the owner is like, isn't he cute? I was like, get your kid off of me, right? So, I mean, I've gone to ones where, that no one showed. I'm sure you've been to those. I've been to ones where the agent didn't show, where it was like you called them, you're like, see you at 6, and you walk, no one's home, lights are off.
Or the light turns off as you come through the door.
Yeah. So look, I mean, guys, you're going to be in all these scenarios. There's going to be good, bad, ugly, and everything in between. It's the experience of it. In fact, my favorite stories are really the worst experiences that I ever had for the most part. And what you got to understand is this. Is the format of this is exactly what Josh said in the beginning, is not wishing somebody is going to do what you're not willing to go do. This isn't a model of you just sign people up and it's like, go forth and multiply. That's not how it works. It's this network marketing. So the goal is, if I get Josh started, is to help him do a grand opening, to help him launch his business. But also, I want to meet everyone he knows. I want to market to that network as quickly as I can, because what I found out is this. If I don't help him get a few people enrolled quickly, very likely Josh is going to quit. So my goal is to meet everybody that Josh knows before he quits. Because if I meet everybody he knows and they sign up, then he's not going to quit.
Exactly.
So our scenario, we have the same motivation here to get this starting. Josh's thing, though, is he's typically going to be still a little afraid. It's your job to inject confidence into your new agent, and that you're going to go in there and present with purpose. Now remember, presentation, it's still not about you. It's your story, but use the tools, use the videos, use the resources, pointing to it, and then edifying your new agent that's there with you. And if you connect, use people's names, use all those things, I'm telling you, your living room presentations are going to explode. And the more you do, the more appointments, the more people are seeing, the more people are trying Seacret products. Because when you take Seacret products and add skin, you're going to be making money.
Seacret products, add skin, you win. And you want to know this because it's gauge your successes in the presentation that you did it. You did it and you engaged with people. This isn't a sales job. You don't want to be going in there like trying to close people thinking that your ratio of customers and agents getting started is going to be a representation of your success, because that's not true. Okay, and you don't want to push people away. If you realize you're there to practice the presentation, 1. 2, you're there to network with more people. Now, in that process, you want to focus on the more excited people. And you know what I'm talking about. You've been in a room where there's someone that's sitting there and they're like, they have a leak in their face, or they're not upset, they're negative, maybe they're on their phone. That's not the person to try to focus on. And sometimes the tendency may be to focus on them because we're trying to get their attention.
Right.
Focus instead on the person who's excited, who's nodding and bobbing, who's with you. Because, look, not everyone's in that same spot. Remember, earlier we talked about the pyramid of motivation. Maybe they're an unmotivated person. That's okay. Let them be there and stay there. Your job's not to motivate them.
Right.
Your job is simply to present. Medium and large groups are the next category of presentations that hopefully you're going to be doing, and you're going to be doing them sooner than later once you get used to doing these earlier presentations, these grand openings and these sit downs, of course, it leads into bigger groups. Now, we're not going to cover a lot of detail in this particular training segment because that's more advanced. We'll be covering that in more advanced training courses down the line. However, what is important to understand is the flow always stays the same, okay? It's the same. We're going to be using names, but now group dynamics comes in, kind of group think comes in, and we'll be talking a little bit more about the psychology of how to make that work to your favor in more of the advanced sections.
Now, when I started seeing these presentations, I loved going to the big group presentations because I saw very talented presenters that were amazing, and the whole idea was to copy. I mean, that's really what made me successful. What made me successful in dance is what made me successful in Seacret was copying exactly what someone was doing. Now, I learned that kind of like through my background with dance, that the presentation, for the most part, when I saw it over and over, was almost the same. It was choreographed. Meaning the spectators might have changed, but the players and the game didn't. Right. And so when I started noticing, I was always writing notes. So this is why I always recommend watch every open presentation, every Facebook Live from great presenters, because I wanted to get as good as they were. Now, in the beginning, because I was new, I was terrified and I was petrified. I remember, like, I don't know that I'm ever going to do that. Now, you may never want to do big, large group presentations, and that's okay. It's not required for success. The thing is that what you want to get started doing them so you can find the people that you're looking for faster and find your aces in the deck, so to speak. And Josh, I remember the moment this really shifted for me, because when I launched my business many years ago, I had my first grand opening and things started moving, and I'll never forget, I had a new agent and they were in Central California and I was living in LA, so it was like a 3-hour drive one way. And we went to go launch and a few people signed up, and I remember driving back with my support team and saying, I can't wait for the next one we're doing. And he's like, oh, I can't go next week. And I was like, well, who's going to do the presentation? And he's like, you are. And I remember going, no. I remember where I was on the 101 driving south, right below Santa Barbara, and I remember having one of those moments where I was like, oh God, but I'd listened to too many of your audios where you were like, successful people do what unsuccessful people aren't willing to do. Successful people live outside their comfort zone. So I was like, oh my, I got to do it. And that was the decision. I kind of got forced into my role in presenting. And that week I was freaking out. I was petrified. I remember driving up. I'm like 20 years old, but I look like I'm 12, right? And I go into the living room and it's all wrong, right? I mean, everything is wrong about it. I'm in a full suit. Everything's awkward about it. But what's weird is that all these kids started coming in, they were young. And not only were they young, they were drunk. Because I didn't teach them how to invite because I was so freaked out about doing the presentation. So they walked in and they thought it was just some house party, So not like some business opportunity to come check this out, right? And so I remember sitting there, they're cursing. I didn't even finish the presentation. It was that bad, but I was like, well, I might as well practice. They're not going to remember anything. So anyway, at the end, one of the girls that was only 17 came up to me and said, I think I know somebody that'd be interested. And I was like, well, you can't even sign up. Just aggravated because I drove 3 hours one way to do this grand opening launch for my new agent because I remember what it was like getting started, not getting off to a fast start. And so I remember being disappointed, but we scheduled another one. And the next week I drove back up, and interestingly enough, this 17-year-old brought mom and dad. And mom and dad walked in like, what is this? This better not be Amway. And I remember like, what's Amway? I had no idea. I was so new. And I was just new and young and excited and just kind of ignorance on fire.
But willing to do the presentation.
But doing the presentation. So this is the second one I ever did. And this woman, arms crossed, legs crossed, eyes crossed, I started leaning into it. And by the end, she starts asking these questions. She starts asking questions I don't even know the answers to. But I got out of the way. I introduced a story and introduced a support team. She ended up getting started. And this woman led me to 6 figures of income. She knew everybody because I was a child. I was 20 and she was older. She was mature. She'd been in business. She'd been in sales before. She signed up everybody and their moms, And what I realized at that point, Josh, was that was the name of the game. Her name was Sandra. Find Sandras. Now, the only reason why that happened was because driving on the 101, when my support team said, you're doing the presentation, I made a decision that week to start presenting. Because what I realized that if I was going to be in control of my destiny, if I was going to be in control of my future, I was going to be required to be caused in the action to go out there and share what it is that I believed in. And so it's not always going to be pretty, but if you do the actions, I promise you, the right people will show it for you if you do it consistently.
That's amazing, Jesse. I've heard that story through my career, 22 years at the time of this videotaping, and that story is the same in almost every successful entrepreneur I've met in this space. The names change, the methods by how you reach the people change, but the story is always the same. And as long as you make the decision today, right now, to draw a line in the sand and say, I'm going to be a presenter. I'm going to go step in the void. I'm going to do what Jesse did, even though I'm scared. I'm going to overcome it, and I'm going to do it. I'm going to do it. I'm going to do it. That story is ahead for you as well.
Now that you understand the flow and the format, let's go into the call to action. And this is the terrifying area. I know, remember it was for me, closing. Asking for the business. Now, I remember I would usually, when I get to this point, when I knew it was coming, I would get even more awkward as I got there. And then what would happen is I would just keep talking until I ran out of things to say, and my 15-minute presentation turned into a 45-minute dissertation. And I kept selling. When I'm telling you right now, when you learn to do this, the freedom's going to open up for you.
Yeah, less is more. And it's confidence of just asking for it.
Yeah.
Like, you can't get it if you don't ask for it. So the best way to get good at this is just at the presentation, just cut to the chase and ask for it. Something like this. So Jesse, how do you see yourself getting started? Do you see yourself getting started as a customer and enjoying the great discount? Or do you see yourself being an agent and making money along with me?
Smile. Did you guys see that? So very important. It goes a long way. Now, I may say yes, I may say no, but now the ball's in my court and I can make a decision. Now, when you ask doesn't mean that they're going to instantly comply. You're going to might have maybe some objections and things like that are going to pop up, which is normal. We're going to discuss that in a minute. However, it's okay. It's going to lead to the next exposure. All of a sudden, I may say something that's going to help Josh get me whatever I need to get me to a yes. And so those alternative choice questions, those are amazing for ending with the closing.
Now, again, we talked about this a little earlier, and we're repeating again because what we want to do is go to the next question. So when he says yes or no, and if he says no, we'll go to the objections like you just mentioned. Mm-hmm. But let's say he says, okay, well, a customer. This is where a lot of people also mess up. We start getting all excited. The next question to ask is, what products work best for you? If it's a customer, and start going, all right, narrowing down to the products that they want. After that, it's how do you see yourself paying, or how you be paying for that, as a Visa or a MasterCard?
Right. So you could start with the products.
And a MasterCard, and then you go right online, all right? And the thing is, stop talking, okay? Just get on the iPad, get on the laptop, get on the phone, or have your paper application ready and start asking questions. The next questions you're going to ask are on that application, either digitally on the app or in person on paper.
Yeah. So if you were going to do this with me, Josh, and I said, from a customer standpoint, you could ask this, like, do you want to start with products for your body, products for your face, or products for your health? So you could narrow that down, alternative closing question. Or you could ask like a leading question, which would be like, what was the product you loved the most? That's a leading question. That's going to give you a great positive response. So what was the product you loved the most? Because obviously that's probably one they're going to want to have in their order right now. So those are questions you can ask. Now, if you said these things to me and I'm like, well, I'm ready to get started. So you would just pull out the information and sign them up.
Exactly.
Okay.
Right then and there. So I love that leading question because that's going to get you into it. What did you like the best? They can't be wrong. Okay. And then just go through it. Now, if they say agent, again, move into the next category of questions, which would be, which opening order suits you the best? Is it the get it, the love it, or the live it?
Or all of them.
Or would you like all three?
Yeah.
And then stop talking.
Yeah.
And let them answer. The most important thing in closing is to allow them to respond. And maybe for some of you this is easy, but I know Jesse and I, this was hard for us to do because that dead air, that pressure is intense. But it's just as intense for them. Mm-hmm. And they're going to either make their decision then and there, and you can walk them through it. I remember at the very beginning, Jesse, the first time I got someone to say yes after the first presentation, I almost freaked out. I almost called my upline and said, man, I got one! I got one! It's like I just caught a fish or something. Don't do that. Yeah. Don't do that. Be calm, cool, relaxed. Yeah. And again, the more...
Or worse than that, you're shocked. Like, yes, are you sure? Really?
You talk them out of it?
Listen, when you get in the end zone, pretend like you've been there once before.
That's good stuff. So Jesse, let's talk about some of the main objections.
Absolutely. So I remember for me, if we could talk about products first, and we'll go into the business side second. So when it comes to some of the main objections you're going to get in closing at the end, I remember that I had people, especially in living rooms and experience presentations and group presentations, a lot of times people ask me, what's in it? And that was a very common question that came up for me in the very beginning. Now I remember, because I'm not a skincare expert, I'm not an estheticianologist, and I'm not planning on being, and we don't want you to be either. Now, if you already are, fantastic, okay? But for the most part, this isn't about being a product expert, it's about using the resources, right? Being a messenger, not just the message. So what I did is, and I'll never forget this, in my first presentation, there were 3 estheticians in the room, and this one woman asked me what's in it, and I was like, and I literally gave her the box. And this is what she did, right? And it works so well that I never stopped doing that. For the last 6 years now, Josh, anytime somebody asks me what's in it, I just go, here you go, right? And what I found is that most people just do this. They won't even read it, I promise you that. Now, don't get me wrong, there's some that will, which is great. Now, is there the 1 out of 100 that's like, look, I only use the coconut stuff that I pull from my tree and I make in my bathtub? Yes, we're probably not the best for that particular human being. Now, we do have products like our 100% sea salt, dead sea salt, and stuff like that they're going to love.
And the mud, you know.
Yeah, maybe not all our products, and that's okay. But what I want you guys to understand is this, is that I remember being terrified at the beginning of not having the answers. When I found out you don't have to have all the answers. Remember, I don't know, all I know is, or hey, I'm new, I'm just checking this out, or use those resources.
Right.
But some of the main objections when it comes to someone getting started in purchasing our products that someone might say is, well, it's too much, right? And one of the things that you can say is, well, compared to. All right?
Compared to what?
Comparatively speaking. Now, one of the things you'll notice is our products are incredibly concentrated. And the other thing is that if a product that somebody else is marketing in another company that is $60 for a similar product, it's not a product for the eye or product for the face, what you'll notice is if you look at the ounces on their product and the ounces on our products, generally speaking, most of our products are a lot more. So we have a lot more, if a product is 1 ounce and we have 2 ounces and their product is $50 and our product is $80, our product's actually cheaper.
Right.
Even though people aren't looking at it that way. And most of our products last a long time because of the concentration of it. So if you look at it from that standpoint, from the price, we actually end up being cheaper than most of the products that people are mentally comparing themselves to. So that's first off when it comes to price. But most of the time it's not a price question, it's a value question, which Josh, I know you'll talk about here in the business. Now, some people say, well, I don't use that stuff. You say, well, by that stuff, well, what do you mean? I mean, even if it's just general daily use products. Now, maybe they don't do a mask every week and they're not a person that does that, but I'm sure they're using soap and I'm sure they're using a shampoo, a conditioner, daily use products. We have something for everybody, from womb to tomb, head, shoulders, knees, and toes. We have it all. So, have some fun with that. Make sure, because what you want to do is get them to realize that there are products that they're already using in our categories, and we can have products that work best for them in those areas. Now, some people might say, one other common objection is, I already have a skincare regimen, or there's something that they're super attached to. So when it comes to this, you may not try to get them off of theirs right away. One of the best things you can do is give them a sample. Give them a demonstration. Say, hey, listen, if I give you a free sample, great demonstration, typically what's going to happen is this. They're thinking, I'm not willing to spend money on something that I don't know if it's going to work better than what I'm using.
Right.
But if you give them a demonstration, give them a sample, and they like or see an experience or result better than what they're using, they're much more likely to be interested in changing their skincare regimen. But also, if there's something they're super passionate and they're in love with and they're loyal to, don't try to knock them off of that. Try to get them into something else. So if they got their face products, it'd be like, well, let's get you, what about the salt and oil scrub for your body? So get them into another category where they're going to start falling in love with Seacret products. And so that way you can have them as a Seacret customer, even if they're a customer of another product, another company. Over time, what you'll probably notice is they're going to end up moving their entire regimen into Seacret and being a Seacret lover. Now, all right, when somebody says, is this company better than this company, better than that company, or how is this better than this or that? What you don't want to do, Josh, in a situation like this is, get into a war and start, downgrading another company.
Right.
You don't need to do that. You can say, listen, I don't know about that, but I can tell you my personal experience and you share your personal experience about Seacret. But what I love to say is, one of the things that what makes Seacret unique and special is the Dead Sea. Talk about thousands of years. This is what makes us unique and makes it special. So if the other company doesn't have Dead Sea minerals, this is your differentiator that you can talk about why Seacret is amazing when it comes to this and your unique unfair advantage, right? And then some people say, well, I don't know if I have it in the budget, right? It's really in the budget. And this might be, especially moms. A lot of times, the moms out there, they're usually the ones that put themselves last. They're taking care of their spouses. They're taking care of their kids.
Right.
They're taking care of everybody. And they usually take care of themselves last. And Tracy Donald mentioned this to me. She says that being a mom, and when I'm speaking to other moms that might say something like, so my husband's going to kill me, and say, listen, this is an opportunity for you to do just one thing to take care of yourself. So something, because look, if you're not taking care of yourself, you're not feeling good about yourself, you're usually not great at taking care of everybody else always for a long period of time. So, put this in, but have this be that one thing that you are doing for you to take care of you, because everybody around you, trust me, they want you to be happy. Because when the woman is not happy in the home is not a happy home.
So when mama's not happy, nobody's happy.
No one's happy. And then lastly, and these are your top 5, is somebody said, I might have sensitive skin. What I always encourage them to do is try it. Now, if they're really scared in an X presentation or demonstration to try it on their face, I usually have them try it on their wrist, kind of like patch test to see how it feels, or maybe their neck, to see if they're really sensitive. I say, look, after doing this with hundreds and thousands of people, obviously our products aren't tested. We've got, hyperallergenic and all those different things, okay? But we have a 30-day money-back guarantee. We don't want to just contribute to your skincare graveyard. This is something you can say to somebody and say, listen, so you're either going to get results, or you're going to get all your money back, or you can switch it up for a product that's going to be working better for you. But again, focus on sampling demonstration. I always encourage them to try it, even on the wrist, so they can see and feel. Because Josh, I can tell you, over the years, so many people told me, oh, I'm so sensitive. And they try Seacret products and they freak out because it's products they actually can use that give them incredible results.
I found that as well. Now, some of the main objections for the business side of things are going to be typically around money and time. Those are the 2 main objections you will get. Now, they may come in different forms, but it narrows down to that. Now, when you get these objections, here's what I like to do. I like to isolate that objection. For example, if Jesse says, I just don't have the time. I'm really busy. My next response would be, well, Jesse, if you did have the time, would there be anything else that keeps you from doing this business?
No.
So in other words, if you had the time, you would do this.
Yes.
So then I can narrow it down, and now all I have to do is handle that time objection. Okay? And we can cover that in a minute. But if it's money, I would do the same thing. And you just keep narrowing it down until you have the real objections. Because sometimes what will happen is I'll say time, I'll overcome that objection for him and help him see it, and then he'll come up with another objection
one, yeah.
and another objection. But if I at least narrow it down in the beginning before we start going down that, he can't do that. Because I can say, well, Jesse, I thought what you said was if you had the time, that you would do this. You did say that, didn't you?
Yeah.
Again, we're using the hook-ended phrase. This is where these things start to come into play. And again, you're not, I think if you take the philosophy of this, I'm not trying to close him into my business.
Right.
I'm trying to legitimately help him find a way to open his own business.
Yeah.
That's the difference. And when you have that sincere come from, they can feel it. He knows that he doesn't. It's not just commission coming off my breath that I'm trying to get to the next rank. I really want to find a way to help Jesse out, because Jesse did tell me he wanted more time. He wanted to maybe pursue his performing arts career in a better way, so he didn't have to worry about the money. And if that's true, then my job is to help him open up a secret business so he can produce enough income to be able to do that. And that's why overcoming these objections is important. And again, I want to isolate them and narrow it down to the real objections and that we can handle here right now.
Now that you've isolated the objection, now you need to overcome it, right? Now, in the beginning, how I learned how to overcome most objections was actually kind of Olay out of the way and actually got an expert on the phone. But obviously, you're not going to be able to do that every moment at every time, and that's okay. We want to give you some tools here to help you overcome these kind of main objections you're going to reach.
And so let's say that example is time, like we talked about earlier. We've isolated time. We know that. So if you could find the time, you'd do it. He says yes. So then here's how you overcome that objection. Say, look, Jesse, this business is specifically designed for people who are busy, who don't have the time.
Okay.
Because here's the deal. I have some time. And imagine if you could introduce me to some other people that may have some more time than you do, I could go talk to them. I could do this presentation on your behalf. If they decide to get started, you could make the commission. Or if they got started in the business, you could override that. Now, the more I did that for you, you could start to generate some extra income, and you could see that if you had some more income, you may be able to free up a little bit more time.
Now, if you broke that down real simple, you could actually use that for anything. Josh says, I don't have the money. Perfect, right? You don't have any money? I've got some money, right? So, or we don't have any money.
Can I have that money?
Right? Can I have some of the money? No. But Josh says, look, I don't have any money. Say, perfect. Don't worry. Here's what I know. You know people
who do have money.
So why don't we do this? We're going to show them Seacret, and when they get started, that can help generate some money for you. All right? Does that sound like something that would be of interest to you?
Yes.
Yeah. So Josh says, I don't want to do sales. It's okay, Josh. You don't like doing sales, right? Now, in this isn't really sales. It's just sharing information, the same way you would a movie, but I get it. So I'm not making them wrong.
Right.
I'm not going like, what's wrong with you? So I'm not doing that. So what I'm doing is, but you know people that love sharing. You know people that whatever they're doing, people are interested in. You know people who already do this. So look, what if we shared this information with them? If they got started and started sharing with other people, you could earn income from that. Would that be something you'd be interested in?
Without selling, without having to sell.
Yeah.
So if you could make some money without selling, would you do it?
Yeah.
Okay, great. See, you know some people who do like sales. Again, you could do this in any way. This is my favorite way to overcome objections because, again, if you really keep the end in mind, what is the end in mind? Whether Jesse signs up or your prospect signs up or not, if you're keeping the main thing, your job is to go do what? Another presentation. That's your job.
Yes.
If he signs up, I still got to go do another presentation. Again, too often in our minds we think that we're doing the presentation to sign a couple people up so we can be rich. That's not how this works. And if you're thinking that, I promise you're going to be sorely mistaken. Your job is to become a master presenter or be masterful getting people in front of presentations. You have to do that a lot. And in that process, I need to find people to present to or to get in front of a presentation. So when I'm sitting here with Jesse and I'm isolating the objection simply to get him to open up his mind to allowing me into his network or for him to introduce people to me or to the presentation so we have more people to talk to.
Yeah. You need to get Seacret in front of more people and as many people as possible. So now, Josh, I know when these things come up, especially when it comes to money, one of the things I realized, it's never the money. I want you guys to get this. It's always the value. An example that kind of gives it, listen, if you like cars, they say yes. I say, listen, what would be your favorite car? And you'd be like, oh, Mercedes. Well, which one? Oh, AMG, this, that. I said, okay, how much does the car cost? $100,000. So you're telling me, right? I want you to get this. If I gave you the keys, free and clear title, no payments to this brand new Mercedes that you're asking for, and I'd give it to you, and all you got to do is bring me money order, check, cash, someone else's credit card, doesn't matter. You just find $300 to get started. Okay, would you find the money? And guess what they always inevitably say?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, of course. So, and then I go, well, now you understand. So it's not about the money. They either have it or they could find it. It's always interesting how the same people who seem to not have money, they always find money to go out to the bar that night or that weekend, or they find those, expensive tickets for this, or even this. People say, well, I don't even do that stuff. And I say, well, listen, if at your job, you're on your way to work and you blew all 4 tires, you just ran over something, and it was going to cost $300 to get all your tires replaced, would you find it?
They'd have to.
You'd have to. If you came home and your child said, oh my God, I had this and I had that and I had sick, yeah, because it became a must for you. It's something that you got to get done. So people either have it or they can find it. The question is if they're going to be resourceful enough. Now, the reason why somebody will become resourceful enough to find it is if they see enough value.
Right.
So if you're constantly running into the time and money objection, what it means is, remember, you're probably not handling it well enough throughout your entire presentation. What you'll notice is that if you keep getting the same objections continuously at the end of the presentation, you're going to want to start evaluating where in your presentation you can handle that objection earlier on so you're not getting it at the end. Most of these objections that we're talking about, Josh, I know you don't even hear them. I haven't heard them in forever because I learned how to handle them up front. So if there's enough value involved and they're conveying enough importance to this, people find time for what's important and people spend money on the things that they value. So if you can convey those two things, you're going to find it much easier when you're getting to this. But how do you do this? Is you just do it over and over and over and over. So guys, what we want you to understand is spaced repetition is the mother of all skill.
Yes.
So, and lyrics of songs you don't even like because you heard it over and over and it gets stuck in your head. Even things that haven't been on forever. Like, how many of you guys remember? There's a story of yeah, you're probably saying it, right? Now, why? It hasn't been on. You probably haven't heard that in a long time. If you were my generation watching commercials, it was off the bleachers, off the backboard, nothing but
net,
right? And it hasn't been on for 15 years, right?
A lot of these kids have never.
Oh, the younger generation. All right, watch this. Watch me whip. Watch. You said it. I know you said it, right? Now, older people are like, what is he talking about? So, but the reason why you know these is because you just heard it again and again and again and again. So your presentation, you want to be practicing it again and again and again and again and again. So just understand, you either get success or you get feedback. Both of them are what you're looking for. And so make the decision again today that you're going to be presenting and you're going to be doing it over and over and over. Every presentation I did was just a chance for me to get better for the next presentation. And it was almost an obsession that I had, was going, okay, I got to get better for the next one. I got to get better for the next one. So don't beat yourself up because I see people do this all the time. And And part of the reason why is because our perception of failure is so jacked up right now, largely in part because of school. And this isn't a bash on the school system. It's just a lot of times testing, when we graded, if it was a 10 questions, 9 out of 10 meant A, 8 out of 10 meant B, 7 out of 10 meant C, 6 out of 10,
D.
And then F, fail. If you got 5 out of 10, you're a loser. Like you're not going to pass. You're not going to advance with your class. You're an outcast. You're dumb. You're stupid. All those different things is what we usually related that to.
But in a business, you're a multimillionaire.
5 out of 10. Teach us what you're doing. You're doing the next academy training for sure. Really, you don't need it. You don't need 5 out of 10. You don't need 4, 3. You don't even 2. 1 out of 10 is plenty to go earn an incredible income here. So just have your expectations set properly. You're going to be bad before you're good. Part of the process, okay? But remember, all of the hows here, Josh, how to present, where, and all that stuff, they're great. But you always got to remember coming back, if you're going to lead a large organization, if you're going to have people that want to follow you, that are enrolled in what you're excited about and your vision, you got to remember it always starts with why.
In the summer of 1963, 250,000 people showed up on the Mall in Washington, D.C. to hear Martin Luther King give his famous I Have a Dream speech. There were no invitations sent out and there was no website to check the date. How do you do that? How many emails did you get to be here today? And there's only, a few hundred people? 250,000. Dr. King was not the only man in that country who knew what had to change to bring about civil rights over there. He wasn't the only great orator. He wasn't the only man who suffered in a pre-civil rights America. In fact, he wasn't even the perfect man. He had his complexities. We just don't talk about those things. The difference is he didn't go around telling people what we need to do, what we need to do, what we need to do. He went around and told people, I believe, I believe, I believe. And people who believed what he believed took his cause and made it their own. And they told people what they believed. And those people took that cause and made it their own. And they told people what they believed. And lo and behold, on the right day, on the right time, 250,000 people showed up to hear him speak. How many of them showed up for him? 0. They showed up for themselves. It's what they believed about America. It's the America that they wanted to live in. It was the country that they wanted to raise their children in, that inspired them to get on a bus, travel for 8 hours, and stand in the sun in Washington in August simply to hear him speak. Showing up was one of the things that they did to prove what they believed. And by the way, he gave the I Have a Dream speech, not the I Have a Plan speech. Nobody was inspired by any plan, ever. The goal is not to talk about what you do. The goal is to talk about what you believe. And people who believe what you believe are drawn to you as if you are their own because you help them put into words the way they see themselves. And the things you say and the things you do give them the ability to tell others what they believe, to make tangible. Because those symbols and those products and those services say something about who they are. And they will say with pride, I love working with that company. There are leaders and there are those who lead. Leaders hold a position of power or influence, but those who lead inspire us. And whether they're individuals or organizations, we follow those who lead not because we have to, but because we want to. We follow those who lead not for them, but for ourselves. This is for those who want to find someone to inspire them. This is for those who want to inspire those around them. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Now that Simon Sinek is on point. This is the essence of pretty much everything we're doing, is the why and the reason. Now, here's my final tip on presentations. We wrap this up.
Yeah.
Okay, study great presenters.
Yes.
And they come in lots of forms. Like Simon Sinek, great presenter, right?
Presenter.
You can keep going, go through TED Talks, start watching great presenters, and you can adopt some of their style. But the best way for you to advance your skill set and to enhance your presentation is to record it. Record your presentation. Set a little recorder, put it on your phone, set it on the thing, record it, and then listen to it after you're done. Okay, when you do this, and I think one of the cool things is when you record your own presentation, especially your first ones, it could be a valuable tool for you as you advance and you become very successful later, because most people don't, they look at Jesse now, he does such a phenomenal, flawless presentation. These days, people think he was always that way. But I had one of the early privileges of hearing some of Jesse's first presentations. And if we could have recorded them and shared them with you today, you'd probably be thinking, man, I'm going to kill this thing. Just like if you recorded some of my early presentations. Because you're, like you said earlier.
The drunken one, that living room, oh, I wish I had that
Because,
recorded.
because it makes us more human, and it makes you realize that you can go do this. So record your presentation, listen to it. You got to have the courage to listen to it, because I know it's tough. You're going to want to turn it off.
Yeah.
But listen to it so you can improve.
Yeah.
So now, well, congratulations. You have completed course number 4, Presenting with Purpose. Next week is Advanced Team Building. This is where you're going to learn how to advance your business in a way that turns your numbers into multiplication, not addition. So we've been talking about addition here.
Yeah,
Presentation is addition, and you need this skill set. But advanced team building is multiplication. Okay, this is where we really go into how to launch the new agents properly, the art of digging. Okay, this is second appointment, what to do, how to get into networks.
Yeah.
This is building from event to event, and for me, it's one of the most critical skill sets that I learned after learning presentation to get into the multiplication, get in an organization from tens to hundreds to thousands, then to tens of thousands and hundreds of thousands. This is this skill set. So congratulations on completing course number 4. Again, Presenting with Purpose. Next week, Advanced Team Building, and we'll look forward to seeing you there.
Bye.